Wonder Woman 1984 has a major cameo setting up its third movie, a nod to Batman vs. Superman, and plenty of DC Comics Easter eggs worth taking a closer look at. BD here with your recap to the rescue, taking a deep dive into Wonder Woman 1984, which exists very much kind of in its own space, but that doesn't mean there are no ties to the DCEU and an exciting cameo setting up the third movie. Spoilers follow as we jump in for a full breakdown. We start way back in the past at the Amazonian Olympics. This is a nod to Wonder Woman's first appearance in comics in All-Star Comics number 8 from way back in 1941. That's a book you might be able to find online for a low grade at about $15,000, but high grade copies are gonna run you for more than 30 grand. In the comics, Diana's go on the Amazonian Olympics is in competition to join Steve Trevor on a trip to the US. Very different from the movie showing its purpose to be Diana learning that this isn't Mario Kart and shortcuts in life are no good thing. But I mean, if you're gonna have a perfect little slide built into a mountain, what do you expect a little girl to do? Anyway, cut ahead to 1984, 66 years after the first Wonder Woman movie and about 41 years before she teams up with Batman and Superman. In a montage setting up 1984 life around Washington, D.C., there might be more Easter eggs to spot, but a cool nod to 80s life in D.C. is the Commander Salamander store. This was a cool spot where locals heard popular music when they walked in and could buy some awesome clothes, everything from cheetah print to leather pants or a badge of your favorite 80s rock stars. We meet Pedro Pascal's Max Lord, who gives off Wolf of Wall Street vibes with stepping out of helicopters and being surrounded by women's and yachts and all that shenanigans, but he is very inspired by Donald Trump. On the movie set, I saw more photos of Trump than anybody ever needs to, as his power suit look and comb-over hair were used by the costume designers and director to engineer this villain. A couple robbers try to hit up a jewelry store in a mall, but it turns out this is the same mall from Stranger Things Season 3, so their life is about to be turned upside down. Literally. Look at what Diana does to this one guy. She uses her tiara to keep her superhero presence a secret, taking out the security cameras, which is probably being used to explain how she remained off the grid until Batman vs. Superman. News reporters give vague descriptions of the hero, which might be how Bruce Wayne catches on to her later. Photos in Diana's apartment also show that she is not credited for the, quote, miracle defeat of Ludendorff back in 1918, along with an excerpt honoring Steve Trevor for his heroic efforts before we see Steve's secretary, Etta, all aged up. By now, she's no longer with us. Diana spends her days alone, looking sadly at the sky when planes fly overhead, remembering Steve's sacrifice, which was blowing up a plane with Ludendorff's bombs to end World War I. If you need a full recap on Wonder Woman, we have that on the Comicbook.com YouTube channel. The Smithsonian gets a delivery from the FBI, including a magical wish-granting rock. It's basically the movie's version of the Chaos Crystal from DC Comics, which first appeared in Batman Superman number 3, but instead of looking into it to get a wish, you have to touch it in the movie. When Diana touches it, she is calling back to Steve's last line to her, "I wish we had more time," because his watch at her house magically starts ticking back at her apartment, and she's about to get more time. When Barbara grabs the stone, she wishes to be as cool as Diana, and here we go. Max Lord follows that stone here. He's a creep and uses misogynistic manipulation to get the Dreamstone from Barbara. He's working for Simon Stagg, the CEO of Stagg Enterprises from DC Comics, and a character who has had regular run-ins with superheroes like Metamorpho. This movie has a lot of differences by comparison to the comics, with the story and villains having, at most, roots in the source material.
We were really trying to honor an earlier version of Max Lord in the DC Comics. And then surprisingly, I kind of had to shed away other specific references to kind of go after something that is unique to this particular movie.
Steve reappears by kind of taking over the body of a dude who is ready for a Grease audition. Does the world see Steve? Does only Diana see Steve? A few things aren't going to make perfect sense or get fully explained, and this isn't the last one, but we do love a Steve-Diana reunion. As Steve becomes this guy, Max Lord becomes the Dreamstone, and now he can grant wishes to anybody who he touches. His first move is getting Simon Stagg to make a wish for Black Gold to change the world. In exchange, he gets Simon's entire company, and Simon is just thrown into jail. Just kind of happens, and that's how the Dreamstone is going to work. Diana starts to catch on to this, so she goes into detective mode. She's wearing an outfit which is a nod to one which Linda Carter's Wonder Woman wore in the iconic 80s Wonder Woman TV show. Tracking Max, Steve and Diana have to be invisible, so Diana uses her powers from Zeus, the same ones he used to hide Themyscira, to finally make the invisible jet. This iconic aircraft first appeared in 1942's Sensation Comics #1, leaving us to wonder where it was in BVS, but maybe it was just right there the whole time, right next to John Cena. Diana tries to stop Max and his security caravan, but her wish for Steve is starting to wear her down in exchange, so this car chase isn't as easy as it would have been. Diana realizes the stone is made by the god of lies, which is why wishes come at a price of losing what you value most, or whatever Max declares. It's another one of those underexplained things that isn't going to make perfect sense. For Diana, the wish is Steve in exchange for her powers. For Barbara, the wish is being cool at the cost of being a good person. In Diana's apartment, she has her golden armor wrapped up, but it's beside what is probably the God Killer sword she used in the first movie and will use again years from now to fight Doomsday. The golden armor first appeared in the Kingdom Come comics set in an alternate universe from the main DC Comics universe. It's designed by the iconic artist Alex Ross. Costume designer on Wonder Woman 1984, Lindy Hemming, built this armor, wings and all.
It took us, many hours of fittings and in order to get it to where it can look beautiful but still be practical.
Diana explains she searched for the warrior Asteria, who sacrificed herself while wearing the armor, but merely found the armor itself, which smells like a story that's going to be explored in Wonder Woman 3. Hold that thought for the end here. Max Lord takes control of everything the President of the United States controls. I mean, a villainous character inspired by Trump in the White House, riots in the streets. It's really hard to believe this movie was shot over 2 years ago. Max gets control of some satellites, the closest the movie comes to his use of Brother Eye in DC Comics. Brother Eye was essentially a weapon to rid the world of metahumans and help him gain power in the comics, but now he just wants to touch everyone at the same time so he can grant all their false wishes. The president does compare this satellite initiative to the Star Wars program, which is a reference to the real program from the 80s put in place by President Reagan, intended to protect the US from nuclear weapons. Fun fact. Barbara's evolution to Cheetah continues. She helps Max escape the White House. Her transformation in the movie falls most in line with the third iteration of Cheetah from DC Comics, where Barbara Minerva got her powers from a tribe in Africa. But in this movie, of course, she got it from a stone, so some big differences. The world is pretty much ready to implode, so Diana and Steve realize they really truly have to say a final goodbye because Diana needs her powers to save everything. This calls back to the first movie once again with the "I wish we had more time" line. Wonder Woman takes to the sky, she can fly, and she strikes the classic Richard Donner Superman pose. This is awesome. Fight with Cheetah. We almost have a Man of Steel moment where the villain is killed at the end, but we avoid that controversy when Cheetah is spared. Whew, close one. I was not ready for that on Twitter. Diana goes on to use her lasso on Max and talks him out of being a totally terrible person. So there's no wild showdown like the blowout, which ended up being the worst part of the first Wonder Woman movie. Much more contained here. Maybe they learned from that. And while she explains her tragic feeling of loss, the Beautiful Lies song by Hans Zimmer from Batman vs. Superman starts to play. I would play it for you here right now, but music rights, we don't own it. Diana ends up being the one to reach everybody in the world. Max's wishes and chaos are all undone, and he has a moment where he realizes he should be a decent person and a good dad, and that's pretty much where his story ends. Cheetah's story is done too. Everyone renounces their wishes, and I don't know, things kind of just go back to normal. I told you, it doesn't all make perfect sense. Not everything is fully explained, but it's entertaining and hopeful enough for us to enjoy it in a year like 2020, that's for sure. The final scene confirms Wonder Woman 1984 is a Christmas movie. Gal Gadot's husband and kids make an appearance, which is fun, and she looks up to the sky to remember Steve Trevor one more time. Then, stay through the credits because we have a post-credits scene. Linda Carter shows up as Asteria, who has presumably been living in secret and performing various acts of heroism in the shadows. In DC Comics, Asteria is a character from an alternate reality that we've seen in an Elseworlds book like Kingdom Come, who has been a member of that universe's Justice Society, but has very few mentions in the main DC Comics universe. This is probably a setup for the third Wonder Woman movie, and a great way to get the OG Wonder Woman involved with the franchise with Gal Gadot. What Easter eggs and references did you catch in Wonder Woman 1984? Share yours in the comment section or send them my way on Instagram at Brandon Davis BD. If you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. And might I recommend some other awesome, really feel-good videos, like when I teamed up with Gal Gadot to surprise Wonder Woman fans over Zoom before the movie came out, or my interviews with Gal, Pedro Pascal, and Chris Pine? Need a link? Send me a tweet. For more updates, head over to Comicbook.com/DC. I'm BD. I'll see you there. Wait, do you think the FBI ever got the answers about the rock they were looking for? Like, is it just sitting at the Smithsonian still?